Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank first the Estonian Academy of Security Sciences for inviting UNHCR to this interesting event. And now also I would like to thank the Polish State Fire Service, which recommended us to be part of this event. My name is Jun Shirato, as introduced. I am a deputy representative of UNHCR Poland. At the same time, I have 25 years of experience with this refugee agency. So I would like to showcase today how UNHCR could be added value to the refugee response throughout the Europe and also throughout the world. As you know, the UNHCR is the UN Refugee Agency. We are dedicated to protect people forced to flee their homes because of conflict and persecution. We are established by the UN General Assembly in 1950 in the aftermath of the Second World War to help the millions of people who had lost their homes. Today we work in 137 countries. We provide life-saving assistance, including shelter, food, water water and other protection services. We defend refugees' right to reach safety and help them find a place to call home so they can rebuild their lives. So why we are here, why UNHCR is invited here today, because we have operational experience with handling emergencies and mass influxes, as you know. So we have been active in throughout the world, mostly in the places like Africa, but we also have experience in working with the countries and governments in Europe. You might remember the days in the 90s. We are very active in the Balkans, so where while our experience is based mostly on the experiences in Africa and other places where governments stop functioning, but also we learn these days through the response in Ukraine, the Ukraine situation in Poland and other neighboring countries, how to coordinate and work effectively to be added value and complementary to the response with a cooperation with the functional government, which is not always easy, as the colleague from the Polish National State Fire Service intimated during his presentation. However, I would like to talk a bit about what worked well in our Polish response and what worked less well, and partially because of our lack of recognition or lack of knowledge on how to work with the functioning state authorities. Then also, after presenting some cases from Poland, I also would like to give a very short statement, short presentation on how our organization is structured to prepare for and respond emergencies. So, needless to say, our action is possible with the support of the UN member states, mostly the signatories of the 1951 Refugee Convention. Most of the countries represented here, the parties to the 51 Convention. And we do not work in a bubble, but work closely with the central and local government, as well as community groups who know very well the dynamics in the country where they have to accommodate refugees or internally displaced persons, and the state services are central to our cooperation, including entities dealing with civil protection. So in the context of the response inside the country, like Poland, we have, we cooperate and coordinate a lot with state entities responsible for civil protection. So now the Polish State Fire Service is becoming a very important counterpart for our response within Poland. But at the same time, we have extensive cooperation with other entities responsible for civil protection and defense for our response outside Europe. For example, the Norwegian civil defense has a long-standing cooperation with UNHCR. They often host our emergency training at one of their bases outside Oslo, and also a Swedish civil defense, civil cooperation agency has a very long-standing great cooperation with us in terms of providing human resources who are essential for us to respond emergencies. So I would like to talk a little bit about the scale of mass displacement, which has become a very big global challenge. So last year, we had a record high of displacement of 123.2 million people who are forcibly displaced from their homes, driven by conflict, violence, and even by climate change. And 60% of these people are internally displaced, like the people in the many IDPs in Ukraine or other part of the world, and 75% of total displaced population are found in low or middle income countries. Yeah, then this 123.2 million, that's almost equal to the population of Japan, where I am from, and also the population of France and Germany combined. So you can see the scale of the displacement. So this is a portal. This is the description of the Ukraine situation for now. So the number of people displaced within Ukraine and outside Ukraine, mostly in neighboring European countries. I will show you later the link to this the portal where we have this information. Then we have a specific page on on Poland as well. Then, as my colleague from the Polish State Fire Service mentioned, now we still have almost like 1 million refugees from Ukraine registered in Poland, and overall majority are women and children, and they are mostly concentrated on the Mazovian district, which is where Warsaw, the capital, is seated, as well as western and south part of Poland. And just let me go back. Yeah, then in 22. UNHCR only had a very small office of 8-9 people. Mostly we are working with the Ministry of Interior, in particular the office called the Office for Foreigners, which is responsible for refugee claim adjudication, to set up the legal system, the asylum system in Poland. So we only had we only needed to have a very small presence. However, after February 22, as you could imagine, we had to scale up our presence to support the government to handle the big influx from Ukraine. So at one point we had more than 150 staff members, and in addition to in Warsaw, we had to open the office in Lublin and Rzeszów along the border with Ukraine, and also in Krakow, where where there are many sizable Ukrainian communities existing, and also had a lot of economic opportunities. So where refugees wanted to go to find a way to be self-sufficient. So but now. In October 25, partially because of the need to rationalize our presence in a EU member state, where there's a functioning mechanisms to support refugees, but also because of the financial crisis that UN is facing. Now we had to close all the offices in the field. We now go back to only one office in Warsaw with some 40 staff members working. But still, we are there to to work closely with the government of Poland to continue our support to refugees from Ukraine, because they continue to come, as you know, due to the intensified the attacks and conflicts back home. Okay, and I would like to showcase a little bit on what worked well and some lessons learned from our Ukraine response in Poland. As Adrian mentioned, the government of Poland immediately adopted what they called Special Act, which is to translate the Temporary Protection Directive of the European Union into domestic law. So giving Ukrainians a right to, legal status, right to work, access to education, etc. That worked very well. So it kind of going to help them to be self-sustainable as soon as possible for those who are able to do that. And also the government of Poland kept the border with Ukraine open all the time. So there's no issue for Ukrainians to access territory of Poland. It's also, there's a remarkable mobilization of central and local authorities, civil society organizations, and individual citizens open their, arms to welcome Ukrainian refugees. That was a very, very, impressive phenomenon that made the response very smooth and successful, even though, there are some gaps, but we have gaps. So information points are created to, share information with refugees about the rights they have, where to go to get services, etc. That worked well. And also, the many entities, many organizations provided multi-purpose cash assistance in 2022 and in the first half of 23, which was found very, very useful, because instead of providing what we called core relief items or non-food items, which may not meet the need of people, providing cash will give them a dignity to choose what they want to spend on. So from UNHCR, we provided cash assistance to over 300,000 refugees, and the people spend that money on food, rent, clothes, shoes, health services, personal hygiene items, etc., etc. That worked very well. At the same time, there are some challenges. So the first one is there are many goodwill volunteers. Not all of them are well coordinated or well trained. So it was challenging in the beginning to coordinate them. And also, I would like to underline there's very important principle, which is protection from sexual exploitation and abuse. In the aid situation, in the humanitarian situation, unfortunately, sometimes this happens. The women are exploited. They are asked to offer sexual service to gain access to assistance, which shouldn't happen. Then all humanitarian workers are trained not to, stick to this principle, prevention from sexual exploitation and abuse. But perhaps, the more could have been done in order to make sure all the volunteers are aware of the principle. But that's one of the lessons learned from the next, if next time we have to mobilize and organize volunteers, we'll make sure that will be happening. And also, in the beginning, it was a bit difficult to make sure the proper coordination is happening with the government. I mean, UN agencies or international NGOs, we are foreigners. We are guests in Poland, but most of them don't really understand how the Polish system works. Most of them don't speak Polish language, so we should have been more humble to better understand how a system will be working, but this lesson is very well learned. And also the other thing is the high staff turnover during the emergency. Many people come to work and help for a couple of weeks, several weeks, then they go back to their homes. So that kind of situation didn't contribute to have standardized and harmonized support to refugees. So there are several lessons learned, but I am very encouraged after knowing the Adrian team. We are on the same point. What kind of lessons learned will be reflected in our future plan and cooperation. Then just would like to present a bit on our own internal strategy as UNHCR. It doesn't only apply to Poland or Ukraine situation, but globally we have emergency prepared and response. Our policy has been renewed a couple of years ago. So to put the preparedness as a priority for the refugee response, emergency response, if you have a good preparedness, the response will be easier and less chaotic. So we have an emergency response, emergency preparedness and response plan updated in 22. You will find the link of this, the policy at the end of the presentation. And also the key to emergency preparedness and response is mobilization of resources. So we have a stockpile which can respond to the need of 1 million people in one go. We have the several warehouses throughout the world. Then also human resources are very important. We have a roster of our own staff members who will be available for 12 months on roster and can be deployed within 72 hours from the point of call for up to 3 months. And they have a diverse professional profiles and experience. They have been selected through a very, very strict process to serve for this roster. And also there are financial resources in our budget. There is some budget set aside to respond to the unexpected emergencies, and also there are like fast-track procedures which could exempt us from going through some complicated bureaucratic process to put the money available. So as I mentioned, we have global stockpiles on those locations where we have warehouses, we have like blankets, solar lamps, tents, mosquito nets, sleeping mats, etc., etc. So then emergency preparedness mechanisms. So in order to have a good emergency preparedness plan, the risk monitoring is essential. So we have a mechanism to ensure in every country, every operation, regularly we undertake a risk monitoring to understand if there are any likelihood of influx of refugees coming. Then if the risks are identified, contingency planning will be established. We also have emergency preparedness and response portal where you can see some lessons learned. And also you can see the contingency plans of other operations, so to reflect it in your own contingency plan if needed. So these are the available resources. In emergency handbook of UNHCR, you can find the many tools which will be useful for emergency preparedness and response actions. And also, I also put the link to the operational data portal where you can see the data I have shown earlier in this presentation on the number of Ukrainians displaced throughout the world, as well as the situation in Poland. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Some couple of questions. By far the most liked question, or let's say most popular question, is that does UNHCR have special operation plans for refugee crisis in Eastern Europe during possible conflict derived from Russia towards NATO countries?
Not really yet. But
yet.
Yes, because this analysis has been done. We are still working on to revise a possible next plan if more influxes are happening from Ukraine, because the outlook isn't good. Because these energy plants or gas facilities have been attacked, meaning that winter can be very difficult again in Ukraine this year, and this may induce the departure of Ukrainians into Europe, unfortunately. So if this happens, we need to be prepared. So every winter, actually, we are making that, updating our plans together with the governments of the hosting countries to make sure there are, the places to accommodate them, enough beds, etc. However, not yet on that scenario.
Okay. What are the, let's say, very practical activities that UNHCR does to help country under refugee pressure? The question is actually, do you take over some specific tasks under the host nation coordination?
Yes. In the beginning of the crisis, yes, because the government institutions may not necessarily have all the resources to handle the sudden emergency. But at the same time, we have to remember we are complementary to the government. So we are there to support the government. And also it's, what we could do is based on, most of the time, based on the request from the government. In case of Poland, the government asked us to step in. So, in the beginning, we provided immediate services. We brought in doctors and nurses, the psychologists to look at the needs of Ukrainian refugees. However, Poland has established a medical system now, so all these services have been reduced and to be integrated into the existing government services. Mm-hmm. But we play a complementary role.
Good to hear. We heard yesterday that it took the UNHCR quite some time to get used to working with the Ukrainian government, also the mechanism and everything in place. So also you have challenges always, and then to put this cooperation work with ungovernment spaces. Can you expand on the challenges for the UNHCR in this aspect? What are the biggest challenges of getting this cooperation going with certain countries or different countries?
Yeah, I think that the key is it's mutual. For us, we have to better understand how the government is structured, what kind of plan they have, who are the competent people to dealing with certain issues. But also at the same time, we need to do more so that the receiving governments will understand our mandate, our role, how we are structured, etc. Yeah.
Okay. How do you make sure that the financial resources you manage for instance, Ukrainian refugees are actually spent very efficiently?
We have all the mechanisms to ensure that the resources will reach the people who need most. So one way of dealing with that is to have what we call the participatory assessment and discussions to get the refugees involved in the decision-making process, to hear from them what they need most. Not not the need we think they need, but we hear from them directly what they need, so we can reflect their needs in our planning. And also we do that with the government counterparts because they are hosting those refugees. They know what they need, what kind of financial assistance should be reflected in a plan. So it's kind of all-inclusive grassroots approach we take.
But you don't hire people from the countries, let's say local people from the countries?
We do.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
How helpful is that? How helpful is that?
Of course it's helpful because, for example, in my office, we have now we have like 45 people in total, and 40 of them are from Poland. then of course they speak language, they have connections, they know the government system very well, they know local communities, their reactions, all the background, and also we have a sizable Ukrainian communities in Poland, and we also hear and hire some of them, so they can communicate directly with Ukrainian refugees without using interpreters. So we count on these local powers quite a lot. And that's one of the main objectives in the operations in Europe, to localize Ukraine response. Well, we call it localization using...
what does it mean?
Localization meaning, we come as international cowboys to the scene. Yeah. In the beginning, the expertise I have, for example, is useful to handle this sudden refugee emergency, because I have done refugee response in many other parts of the world. But the local knowledge is very important. So in the beginning, internationals come and kind of like these are the lessons learned from other operations. Let's use it in this response. But later, the main respondents will be local Polish colleagues. Also, like the NGOs. In the beginning, there are many international NGOs, but we deliberately, ask Polish NGOs or like Ukrainian diaspora NGOs to be the main actors of response, so that this, the local, the response will be more meaningful and more down to the earth.
Good to know. We heard excellent examples how refugees were accepted in Poland and how the work went on. What's the experience in other neighboring countries? Are there any challenges, or is it the same, or how the UNHCR? What's your experience elsewhere?
Well,
I mean, for the Ukraine, let's say the same.
Okay, there are different responses, different realities. Poland, as you know, is one of the biggest hosting countries, the second after Germany, and the refugees find it easier to be in Poland because of proximity with Ukraine, similarity with languages, the systems, etc. So in other countries, for example, where they find it difficult to learn language,
Slovakia is also very close.
Yes. Yeah. And also Hungary, for example.
Hungary is different.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
Language-wise.
So, yeah, it's very different. And also, they have more strict policy. And Moldova, for example, is also a hosting country, the big hosting country. But also, there are some issues with the national systems and services. And if you don't have, reasonable national systems and services, it's very difficult to extend the service for the citizens to refugees. So that's one of the challenges we see.
The last question. I represent it as such that we hope, but do tell us, does the exclusive participation of the aggressor country, with the veto right, and I mean Russia, in the UN Security Council, has impact on your work or not?
No.
That's good to hear. Yeah. Thank you very much, Shirato.
Thank you.